All right, so I just opened my first data set. Everyone's throwing around the word variables like it's obvious. And I'm sitting here thinking, is this something I should have learned in kindergarten?
But what variables are you using? You just told me what data you're using, but specifically what variables within the data. I can't tell if your statistical tests are right until I know what the variables are. You don't know what a variable is? Were you sleeping on the second day of class? We covered this.
So, what is a variable? A variable is just something that can change. That's it. In data, it's like a labeled container where you store information. Variables are the columns in a data set. They come from questions on a survey, fields in an administrative database, or any other source of information about entities or cases described in the data. So let's imagine we have a jar labeled cookies. First of all, that makes me really hungry. Sometimes it's full of Oreos. Sometimes it's full of chocolate chip cookies. The jar is the variable, and what's inside changes. That's the values. Of course, there's different types of variables. There are variables like categorical, group labels, like cats versus dogs, or even better, cookies versus cake. Some variables are continuous. These are numbers on a scale, such as income or height or how many episodes of Netflix I binged last week. Of course, we have to be careful of variables that look like a number but are actually a group label. For instance, a zip code. Another thing that confuses me is the difference between independent and dependent variables. Independent variable is the thing that you think causes change, like hours of sleep. The dependent variable is the outcome you're interested in, like stress level. For example, does less sleep make me more of a stressed out grumpy cat? The answer is absolutely 100%. And that's your research question, built on variables. Where do I find the variables when I open a data set? The columns in a data set are the variables, and the rows are the people or cases. Picture a giant spreadsheet. The column, labeled hours of sleep, is your variable, and the rows filled with numbers like 10, 3, 7, those are your values. So if I think of my own life as a data set, some of the variables about me would be the number of hours I slept, the number of group chats I have muted. A researcher could take those and compare them and say, students who sleep less are in way too many group chats. And honestly, that's probably true. So to sum it up, variables are just labels for things that can change. They're the building blocks of data, the jars holding your cookies, and most importantly, the columns in the data. In the meantime, keep learning and inquiring, and remember, there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Why is my hat listing?
I'm making myself laugh.
Anyway, I think this is right. Is this the right side for the tassel?
Let's see if we can do this better this time. Why am I having such a hard time with this?